Exploratory drilling at the Selkirk Copper Mine in the Yukon is looking promising. Selkirk Copper Mine was formerly known as Minto Mine. The Selkirk First Nation purchased the mine last year, making it the first Indigenous nation in Canada to own a mine. Kevin McGinty is with Selkirk Copper, the company in charge of the mine. He gave me an update about the mine while I was in Pelly Crossing last week. Kevin, can you just give me a broad update about what's been happening with the Selkirk Copper Mine?
So broad update is that we're moving things along since the closure of or the completion of the sales transfer to Selkirk Copper. We've quickly pivoted to establishing a team and have done a lot of the trade-off studies and studies going forward. And we're drafting the early preliminary economic assessments. And we completed our first phase of our drill program. So all of that is those indicators that will go to a decision whether we go to a restart here in the future.
Are you able to talk a little bit about what they found in the some of the drill program that's been going on, and maybe explain what a drill program is for those of us that might not know?
It's not really my cup of tea. That's
enough.
more the geology, right? But from what I've been told, we expected the results that we're seeing. Maybe over it's more than what we expected, which is positive. So the drill program is more just taking the core from the ground, and the geologist then will determine what type of material that we have. So that's more the geology side.
No, I mean, you explained it perfectly because, I'm not a geologist either, but it's essentially looking for what's in the ground to determine whether or not to start the mine up, if I'm understanding correctly.
Yes, and it gives you the idea of kind of what the characteristic of those rocks are and what potentially could be challenges in regards to the extraction methods of doing that. So it's yeah, and it's an indicator, right, to kind of show what's in the ground, and they'll make a decision whether it's mineable and it makes economic sense or not. Right.
And you were saying so far the results that you're getting are perhaps are promising, let's say. Is that a good word to say? Promising, maybe more than you were expecting?
Uh, Once again, I think I'll leave that to the professionals, but I think it's very close to what we expected, and we wouldn't have made this venture here if we knew that there was great resources there, and it's been proven in the past that it is one of the richest, highest grade copper there is, with very little penalties in regards to smeltering it, and so we're hoping that there's more there that the previous companies we believe haven't really invested in the geology and the drill to further up its resources, and that's exactly what we're doing.
Yeah, why don't you tell me about some of the next steps, if you could, of what'll be happening in the near future and the kind of investments that you could be making if it does look like it's a promising place to start for reopening the mine.
I think that that's going to be all part of the PEA, which is the economic preliminary assessments. We'll look at one of the good things about the purchase that Selkirk did and the formation of Selkirk Copper is we have the infrastructure in place, which was key as part of a go forward to a potential restart. Right now, we're doing our assessments to see what infrastructure that needs to be modified or improved on. I think that's all part of the plans going forward. So, I think part of that next step is to work on the feasibility study, and that will all capture all of that as a plan going forward to a potential restart.
Is there anything else that you wanted to tell us about the Selkirk Copper Mine, Kevin?
We're excited, and we're working as a team. I think is like I just started here in December as a part of the executive team, and then we're excited to move this project forward if we can. We have obviously we have parties that are a part of the arrangements going forward with our agreements. So we're working closely with them, and we're hoping to work with the community as well. I think that's one of the key messages, or as one of the key strategies as Selkirk uh, provided the purchase arrangement is that we'll have Selkirk involvement in that, and we're waiting for our time. I know election is right around the corner here, and there's going to be new leadership. We look forward to briefing them and getting them up to speed, and really work with them on going forward on part of the engagements processes that we have with the community, and well, we can take it from there. I think that's so. Yeah, exciting times.
Okay, we'll have to check in again in a few months to see how everything's going. But for now, I really appreciate this conversation. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.